Hello, everybody. Today's guest is Si. He runs a writing class called Sidwell's Scribblers. And yeah, we're going to talk to Si about what happens in a typical class. And yeah, Si is going to give a little introduction to himself and going to talk about like what motivated Si to start the class. So, would you like to give a quick introduction to yourself first, Si?
Yeah, my name's Si. I grew up in North Manchester, lived in Exeter for about 20 years, um, and I've been running Sidwell Scribblers since about March 2024. Um,
Okay. And did you say you came from North Manchester?
yeah, that's where I was born and grew up.
Oh, okay. And what brought you down to Exeter?
Well, I've moved around quite a lot. I lived in the Midlands for about 10 years, and I literally came to Exeter in a really random way.
Mm,
I wasn't able to find the work I wanted in the Midlands. I wasn't getting anywhere.
mm,
And I picked up a map of the UK's inland waterways or the canals,
mm,
and I noticed Exeter had a canal. And I thought, well, I like canals. I'll try Exeter. I literally moved down here completely randomly, not knowing anyone or anything about the place.
mm,
But it turned out to be one of the best moves I've ever made in my life, really.
mm.
Uh, it's a nice place when you get down there. People are quite easy to get on with. And I was able to get work that I enjoyed and things. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's good. Yeah, it's a very friendly city.
Yeah.
Okay, so just give a quick background because I originally did a writing class at St Sidwell's Community Centre, and then you
Yeah.
went to Urban Learning Academy to study creative writing.
Yeah, that's right. So quite a while back now, just
Mm,
after lockdown, I think it was. I started going to some creative writing classes run by Devon Recovery Learning Community
mm,
at St Sidwell's. Um, so at the time, I was really quite anxious
mm,
and not really going out at all. Um, but I lived right above the community centre,
mm,
so it wasn't that scary to just go downstairs because if it was too much, I knew I could just come back upstairs. It's not, it
mm,
wasn't like going a massive journey. Um, so I went on to one of these sessions, found it was okay. I could handle it really. I got
mm,
sat by the door in case it was too much, so I could scoot out.
mm,
Um, but over, I think it was the first one was like a 6 weeks course on like writing for inspiration or something,
mm,
and that just really helped me because it got me out of my flat and out of
mm,
my own thoughts in my head, and listening to other people and their writing, and even just sometimes just chatting with people in the group. It was quite a good thing to do. And there's no pressure
mm,
to really, if you didn't want to share what you'd written, you didn't have to. There was no pressure in that kind of sense. It was very laid back.
mm,
Um, and that from there, Sam, who run that group, also works at the college and runs some college courses through the Urban Learning Academy. So I signed up some of those, and they were further afield. So they were like at the library was
mm,
one of them, and then after that there was one that was at St David's Church in the little crypt underneath there,
mm.
which is quite a nice learning space, and at St David's Exeter Community Centre on St David's Hill,
Okay.
which at the time might as well have been, the moon for given how far away it was from
Mm,
where I was comfortable. But just having a reason to go somewhere and do
mm,
something made it much more easy for me to get out
mm.
and go beyond my comfort zone, if you like, expand my little comfort zone a bit further each time. Um, and that really, and again, meeting new people in each group,
Mm.
see some familiar faces, not the same people every time though. Um, and yeah, just spending time listening to other people being creative and doing things and being
Mm.
encouraged by them to do it yourself was really, really helpful,
Okay.
really.
And when did you actually start St Sidwell's? Oh, sorry, Sidwell Scribblers. Was it earlier this
Uh,
last
yeah,
year?
it was earlier this year. Yeah, so it was in about I think it was March this year. Um, So
Mm.
after the Urban Learning Academy courses and things I've been on, they had a little feedback session at Positive Lights on Sidwell Street
Mm.
for lots of different courses they'd done for the Urban Learning Academy. And I was chatting to Sam and Maddie there, Maddie's the person from the college who organises those courses. And I was saying, well, what do I do now? I don't really want to do a degree in creative writing. I don't want to become a teacher as such, really. But I don't know what to do. And she suggested, well, one thing you could do is set up your own writing group. And I thought, well, I don't think I could do that. I'm not got the skills or the experience particularly. I mean, I've worked facilitating groups in the past in my last job, but not about writing and creativity particularly, so I wasn't confident about it. But then, a couple of months after that, I was looking to volunteer at St Sidwell's, probably in the kitchen, I think is what I was asking for.
Oh, really?
And because I did a little session there on chutney making. It's like a little, come along and make some chutney. And it was really enjoyable. It was right laugh. It was a lot of people who didn't really know what we were doing and trying to follow weights and measures and things when you're not used to doing it. And somehow the chutney turned out fine. But it was just the chatting to people while we're chopping things up and peeling them. It was quite sociable and friendly. And I thought, well, I like this part of it. So maybe if I do volunteer in the kitchen, I could be useful in some way. And I thought I'd get a lot out of it myself. But they had like quite a big demand for people volunteering in their kitchen. You didn't have any space, basically. They had like a waiting list of people wanting to volunteer.
All right.
And Al at St Sidwell, who's their wellness person, I was chatting to her while I was having a cup of tea, sort of like a bit disappointed that I couldn't volunteer there. And I was thinking of maybe volunteering in the garden, which is something that I do now. And she suggested, out of the blue and completely separately to Maddie, that I should set up a creative writing group and that they'd help me facilitate that.
All right.
So I was a bit wary, but I thought, well, I'll give it a go, try it for 6 weeks and see if anyone's interested. And at first, I really just did it by word of mouth. So only a couple of people came and there's no one regular. And some weeks there was no one, there was just me. And I'd be like going, well, I'll sit and do some writing then because no one else is here. So after that, we got round to, well, Al helped me design some posters and things and put it on their social media and things. And I got more people coming. And we also applied for some funding from Devon Recovery and Devon County Council, which, to be honest, Al did all of that. I just sort of wrote a little statement about things.
Yeah.
But all the actual budgeting side of it was a bit beyond me, to be honest. I wasn't in the place where I could do that. So Al really helped me with that. And that successful funding just meant we were able to buy some materials. So I could buy things like notebooks and pens, so people could turn up with nothing, and not have to worry. They haven't got to go, well, I haven't got a book for me. Oh, no, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Just come in and there's materials there. And I've got like some, like just paper for people to draw on and things as well. So I try to sometimes incorporate some more art things in it as well. But yeah, so the first few sessions were a bit hit and miss. And it is a bit disheartening sometimes when you've got something in mind that you want to try and do with people, and then you get down and no one's there.
Yeah.
But now I'd say there's a core group of about 6 people who come most weeks.
Okay.
Which is, it's really nice. It's a good thing to have, really. Some people would just come maybe once or twice and then not for a while. And that's because they have their own health issues quite often.
Yeah, for sure.
People can't always make it. And there's some people I know who make an effort to come every week because it's a thing for them to do, to get out of the house and keep them well. And one thing I noticed when I was on the college courses was that obviously they only run for term times and then they stop.
Mm.
And so when it's half terms or the summer, people who might have been relying on that in some respects for getting out and socialising or helping to maintain their own what's the word I'm looking for, their own wellness, their own regular rhythm of their daily life, if you like, or their plans for a week to keep active and doing things. If that all shuts down over the summer, it's difficult for some people. Not everyone's got a family or that kind of support around them.
Yeah.
And having something to go to and someone to listen to and speak to can be quite an important thing, I think. So I tried to keep it going through the summer. I did find it in the middle of summer, beginning of August, I think there was just no one coming. I think people on holidays or when it's nicer weather, people probably don't want to sit in a dark room.
Yeah, that's it. I go to community centre most Fridays. It's a similar thing there. Like it's always much quieter in the summer.
Yeah.
Then it gets busy again, when the nights get darker and it gets cold like it is now.
Yeah, exactly.
But I found that quite interesting. I didn't know that I actually went there to volunteer at the shop first. I didn't actually know that. And that's quite interesting. You put yourself out there and then you almost like created an opportunity to do something else just by initially. Yeah, I think that's really good. That shows a lot of what the word is, determination, I guess. I think that's really that's a nice story. Then you got the funding, and you could add to what you were doing already, and I think that's good demonstration of how the Recovery Devon Fund can really help people as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it makes you feel more like it made me feel sort of like supported, not just financially, but Sammy was really helpful talking to me and saying, don't stress out about things.
Yeah.
It's not like they're in a position where they can fund things and it's not got to have a certain measure of it's not got so many people attending or anything. There's not like
exactly.
that pressure.
That.
And in a way, that there is enough people attending now to justify it, but it was good to not have any pressure on you to get to that level.
Yeah, exactly. Wouldn't help, would it?
Yeah. You don't need extra pressure when you're already, trying to do something a bit out of your comfort zone. Nobody needs more pressure than that.
100%.
But yeah, it's been really. I think Devon Recovery has been really helpful to me. And going to the recovery day, which you were at as well, and just doing a little writing exercise with people and talking for a bit. I think it made me realise that perhaps I have got some of the skills that I didn't think I've got. Because it seemed to go well. It's a bit chaotic, but things like that always are. But people, they wrote something, they enjoyed it, and everybody got chatting, and it was sort of like quite nice.
Exactly. It kind of broke the day up as well, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It was really nice. I think that's one of the highlights of it, actually. Yeah, doing the writing task, also listening to your story as well.
Yeah.
I would ask if I'm if I'm interested in coming to your class, say I want to go there, can you just give a kind of overview of what happens in the class?
Yeah. So you've got to find it. So you go to St Sidwell's, and we're usually in the Hems room, which is at the end of a little corridor on the left as you go in.
Yeah.
And what you'll find in there is a group of people sat around, all quite friendly and chatting away. And we usually start with some writing prompts. Now, I've got a lot of books of writing prompts I've used, but I found they're a bit restrictive in some ways because it tends to be things like, imagine you're in a particular situation or whatever. And it's quite predictable. So something I've developed is what I'll do is on the way into the session, I'll grab two books from the little community library shelf in St Sidwell. I'll grab two books randomly, and I've got a dictionary as well. And what I'll do is I'll ask people, I'll just chuck the books on the table and ask someone to grab a book, two people to grab a book each, and open the book at a random page and pick a word. And so we end up with two words that are completely random because two different people have chosen from two different random books. And then we will try and write something about those two words. So it could be that they work together what's the example we had in the last session? We had home and uphill. So some people were writing about the struggle to feel at home and things from that. But equally, some people might just choose one word, one of the words, and just write about that using a single word as a prompt.
So you personalize it to your own experiences, or can you just write any creative story? Or?
You can write any creative story. A lot of people, well, some of the people I found at the moment tend to write about their own experiences, or some of the older attendees use it to write kind of autobiographically. They'll write about their own life experience, which is fascinating. So that's quite a useful thing, really. It's amazing what people write when you give them 2 words.
Yeah.
And how different can it be from each person's perspective? They'll write something completely different.
Yeah.
And then after I set timer for 10 minutes, and people will write something for 10 minutes. And at the end of 10 minutes, the timer will go off, and people will, if they want to, read what they've written and share it back to everyone else.
Yeah.
That's a really good thing, I think, is having the space to be heard, so people can really, here's what I've written, here's my experience of this is what it makes me think of, and people feel they've really been heard, and they also really listen to each other as well. In the last session we had, one of the participants wrote about their experience of Christmas and loneliness.
Yeah.
It's very moving. And he got a spontaneous round of applause for everyone there, because we all identified with it. And I think that's quite encouraging for people to know they're not alone.
Yeah, I was just going to say exactly the same thing. It must, it'd be so nice.
Yeah. And to have, and people will comment on each other's work. In that case, we're all saying like we felt the same way. We know what that's like. So there's a real empathy there as well.
Yeah, that's really good.
And we've done some other more kind of drawing exercises. So sometimes I've got some images printed out, which I'll give out as inspiration for people to write about, which might be like landscapes or sculptures or all different pictures of things. I have, in the first few sessions, we tried getting people to draw things. So I tried to do this thing where I get people to draw an animal without taking their pen off the paper. So it'd be one continuous line, which sounds like, well, I tried it. It was terrible and didn't look like anything. And that's what I wanted it to be, so people could interpret it how they wanted. Turns out everyone in the first group I tried it with was really good. They were all excellent artists.
Wow.
So it actually didn't work as well as I thought. But I've also done a little task where I'd give people masks, and we'd think of a character and then write on the outside of the mask what the character looked like to everyone else, and on the inside of the mask what the character was thinking about themselves.
Oh, okay.
So it's like which it's actually harder than you think, because you have to think of a character and
you mean a cartoon character or someone on TV?
Oh, well, it could be any. So, for example, someone chose the Phantom of the Opera, the Phantom from the Phantom of the Opera, and wrote all these sort of like love for his unrequited love on the inside and all musical things on the outside. But you can make up your own character, or even write about yourself. I wrote about myself, and in terms of leading a workshop sort of thing, leading a creative session, which I'm not always very confident about, even though I might look confident on the outside.
Okay. Is it about how long is the class? Is it about an hour, and then you have a couple of breaks, or you do one activity, a little break, then another activity, or?
Yeah, well, it's an hour and a half.
Hour and a half, okay.
Yeah, usually have with 2 till 3:30, so about 2:45. Usually we'll have a little break. But sometimes we might just carry on. It depends what people want to do. But yeah, we usually have a break then, because the cafe bit closes at 3 o'clock. So if people want to get a cup of tea, that's the only time they can do it, really. It's the perfect time to do it, to have a little break.
So you like move it around a little bit, okay.
Yeah.
And I found, when I spoke to you before, you were saying about you weren't there one time, and then the class basically did it, took the class themselves. They did everything themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, last not last week, the week before that,
Mm,
for a couple of weeks, I had the flu and I was ill.
mm,
And I tried to contact as many people as I could and tell me it wasn't on,
mm.
but I didn't have everyone's contact details. I'm not super
Yeah.
organised. The people turned up anyway. And then the second week, it turns out that people turned up knowing that I wasn't going to be there because I'd contacted them by
Yeah.
then. Um, and they already knew the book exercise, getting two books, picking random words and setting the time
Yes.
for 10 minutes. So they just did that. They,
Mm,
did the same exercise with different words over and over again.
mm,
I think they went over time a bit because they
mm.
were enjoying it so much.
Yeah.
um, it's really nice, really, because it's like it shows that I'd like very much to get to a stage where it's not dependent on me, where
Mm,
it's like an autonomous group who just get together and
yeah.
they've got some different exercises they can try
Mm,
to different writing prompts and things themselves. Um, that's where I'd like to get it to. Really, it's not really about me so much as about the group and people getting together
yeah.
and getting something out of it. And if they get something out of it without me being there, that's even better.
Sure. Sure. Have you thought about starting another class, or do you think some people who are attending this class might start their own classes, or is it a bit too soon for that? Or
A good question. I did meet someone at the Devon Recovery Day, someone from Honiton group, and
okay.
I've got their email address. I haven't contacted them yet because they would thought I might be able to
Mm,
go there and do a little session with them,
mm,
which I'd be happy to do. Uh,
mm,
Honiton's not that far away, so I suppose. But in terms of expanding this group, um, I could do another. I could do another group on another day, possibly. That's a
mm,
possibility. Or someone from this group might want to go off and do their own thing at some point. But I think,
mm.
like I say, it's still quite early yet.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I think maybe when we've been going a bit longer, people might want to try and do it themselves somewhere else.
Nice.
Um, because I think it's definitely something I've got a lot out of it. I mean, mostly I'm doing this to help other people, but
Mm,
it definitely helps me as well.
mm,
Um, it gives you a reason to sort of like get up and do things and think about things and have a plan and something to
mm.
do. Um, and yeah, there's a real contentment, happiness, you could say. Especially when they were doing it when I wasn't there.
Yeah, that must have been a lovely feeling.
Well, yeah. I mean, this week when I went, sorry, last Friday, and one of the participants rocked up and she was like, "Oh, last week we did this." When you weren't here, we just carried on, and I was like,
Mm,
"Brilliant!" So it shows they're kind of becoming a group, and they sort of trust each other,
yeah.
and they all know what to do and how to. They don't really need someone to facilitate it really
Mm.
at the basic level.
Yeah, I was going to say, how have you seen people kind of change? They've grown in confidence, or they're more, do they open up more, or have you noticed things like
Um,
this?
yeah, yeah, I'd say certainly some people have come. Um, one chap who came, we've been to one session, but even in that one session, he came and he wasn't very sure at all about it.
Mm,
He was chatting to one of the other attendees in the cafe bit,
mm,
and he said, "We're going to this now. You should come along."
mm,
And he was like, "Well, I haven't got anything to write on or anything." I was like, "You don't need to worry about that. We've got all
mm,
that. Just come along and give it a go." And he was very unsure. I think he said he was a bit dyslexic and he found it,
mm,
wasn't really didn't feel he was that great with words. But when he comes to share his stuff, it was really good.
mm,
It's very emotionally engaging. He was really well written. Um, and for some of it, he would kind of just have written some notes and then just explain the meaning behind what he'd written as local
mm,
notes. But he really came out of himself just in that one session, really.
mm.
And there are people who've been coming for longer who equally, I think, feel the more you get to know the other people in the group, I think it's like a feeling of safety, isn't it? You know that they're okay. You know, when someone's vulnerable themselves and share something,
Yeah.
you can go, well, I can open a bit now as well.
Have, have people sort of
So,
made friends outside of the class or anything? Or I think you said about someone was recommended someone brought their friend who brought their friend, or
oh well, yeah.
yeah.
So the chap I was talking about earlier, there's one person who brought one of their friends, and then both of those two, the week after, were sat with this chap in the cafe and brought him in as well.
Oh, that's really
uh,
good.
and there's another chap who writes poetry who brought a friend from a poetry group last week as well. First time he'd been, and again he got a lot out of it as well. So yeah, it's kind of word. I think initially doing some advertising with posters was a good idea because you want to get people to know about it. Um, but the best advert really is kind of word of mouth. If people are telling their friends, I go to this thing and I really get something out
Yeah,
of it,
sure.
it's enjoyable. That's the best recommendation, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Do you have any
Yeah.
flyers or anything?
I've got some posters. I think they're quite out of date now. So,
Okay. So
so
I
you
don't
put,
know. Yeah, I don't know if I've got any funds left from Devon.
yeah,
But you can go on Hello Prints online. You get some
mm,
quite A6 flyers, maybe 20 quid. You get like quite a few hundred of
right.
them. I
Oh,
mean,
right. Yeah,
yeah, mate, I can
yeah,
send you a link afterwards. But yeah, I think that
yeah,
what you're doing is great.
mm.
Do you have a message? Let's say I'm a little bit, I want to maybe I'm a little bit within myself. I really want to go to the class. Can you how can what can you say to me? So that's sort
Uh,
of one on you.
well, yeah. I'd say come along. It's not like it's not like someone's going to criticise your writing. It's not like a
Mm,
literary festival where someone's going to go, "Well,
mm,
I think you should have written that like this."
mm.
That's not what we're about at all.
Yeah.
It's very much about enjoying expressing yourself in words and being creative and using your imagination,
Mm,
or maybe reminiscing about your past if you know if some of the older members do. Um, and they're a friendly bunch. There's no pressure to share things either. If you don't want to share what you've written, you don't have to. If you have to leave halfway through, that's fine. You know, you're not being held captive. You can go anytime you want.
yeah, that's really good. That's really encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, basically, I think you've given a really, really nice summary of your class. And where can we find you on social media? Facebook, is it?
Uh, well, good question. So I don't do social media. So you find it on, I think, St Sidwell social media. There'll be some
Yeah,
of that.
but it's every Friday, isn't it? Every Friday after
Yeah, every Friday,
from
two till
2 to
3:30.
3:30.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Well, we'll definitely try and put some details. You have got a poster. I'll try and attach this poster
yeah,
when the
yeah. I can
podcast
find that
comes
and
out.
I'll email it to you.
And
Yeah,
I'd like to actually maybe another podcast, but I'm
yeah,
interested in exploring exactly what you learned from ULA and how you've applied it. I know you said something about the attentive listening, but I think that
yeah,
might be good for another podcast. And
yeah.
I
Hmm.
want to say, Si, I want to say like this has been really nice, and I hope we can maybe get some more people to your class. But anyway, I think what you're doing is amazing. The way you've come all the way through the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen in the future, do you? And
Well, yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
yeah,
got to be open to opportunities when they come up. I think.
yeah.
Though sometimes it can seem like it's a bit much, a bit overwhelming.
Mm.
But my advice to people would be try something small. If
Yeah,
an opportunity comes,
bite-sized.
yeah, bite sized. Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm just going to stop the recording and then we can have a chat or something afterwards. But yeah,
Yeah,
thank
right.
you very
Thanks,
much.
Ashley.
And
Thanks,
yeah,
Steve.
highly recommend going to Sean's class if you can make it. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank
Sean?
you.
Sorry, there's someone I was interviewing someone
Yeah,
last week called Sean.
yeah.
So if I said Sean, hopefully like, I haven't said it too many times. So, so I think now's good time to stop the podcast.
Yeah,
Okay,
great.
all right. All right, thank you, everybody.
That's great.